Okay, Pyros. Welcome to Captain Rob 73 Pyro headquarters once again. Today I'm going to do a little demonstration video on with these mortar shells here. Got several different shapes and brands and sizes and colors of a thing that I do when I'm shooting this in my neighborhood or anywhere where you don't want a bunch of mess or as little mess as possible. So we'll start with this canister shell here. Try to get this in focus here. So you got your canister shell. We've all seen these. They have this big old label on them. Well, what happens is that label ends up in your neighborhood. So what I do is, we got a brocade crown shell. This is a 5-inch spud gun, or super spud gun. Pretty good shells. Just carefully, just make a little line so you can rip it like that. Don't forget this in here. Now be careful of your wick. Don't rip it out or break it or anything. But I take this part off. And your little fuse holder is going to come off with it on some of the canister shells. So your little string here. It's going to be, and then careful not to rip your fuse out. See, I get rid of all that junk over there. That way that's not blowing around my neighborhood. And you can also take a Sharpie back to your shell and you can write, I'm just going to write Bro Crown. That way I know this is a brocade crown shell. Now I generally leave a piece on the top that says top for obvious reasons. So that's how you do the make it a little bit cleaner shell for your neighborhood. We'll do the same thing with this one. Very carefully. You just got to make sure you don't rip your fuse out. Just as sure as possible. Oh, this one was a purple and green wave. Trash out of here. So I'll write purple, green. Now, if you do this right before you shoot them, and you already have them laid out where you're going to put them in your racks and what kind of show you're going to do, you really don't have to label them like this. I'm just labeling them like this because I'm taking them apart ahead of time. Now, this one is a Zeus shell. The Zeus King of God shells. These are very good shells. Now the fuse on this one is inside the paper. So just make sure you turn it off to the side a little bit. Just pop your label off. See, the fuse is inside. This one, the fuse stays in a proper orientation. And this was a pink peony. So there we go. We'll do another one. I'm doing several of them so you can see just how much mesh you can save. This one is a blue peony, sky blue. You ain't got to get too fancy with your labeling. Alright, now these little ball shells, some of these have tons of paperwork on them. Like, we're going to do the same thing. This one's already fallen off. Take off that label. We'll try to get this glittery stuff off here, or metallic paper. And again, you got to make sure you don't rip your fuse out if that's possible. I try to get as much. This one's really glued on there. Much of this crap that's stuck on there off these shells as possible. And I know I could be using something a lot safer than a razor knife, but I do this all the time and I'm very careful. You could use a ceramic knife, something that won't spark. Well, that one's not really going to come off all the way. But still got that whole pile of paper there, just from that one shell. So we'll add that to the pile. And we got another one. Get your fuse all unwrapped from the threads here. Let's see what we can peel off of this one. This one seems to be leaking some lift charge. Well, they spilt lift charge all over the place when they loaded it. Oh, see? Fuse popped out. We'll address that issue. That's a common issue with ball shells and handling anyway. Okay, we pretty much got this one unwrapped. And another thing to watch for, I'll point to it with the razor blade here. When you're unwrapping these ball shells, if you choose to do this, they have this like a thin wrapping around the bottom right here. That's the only thing holding in the lift charge. So you don't want to rip that. It's usually like nothing more than very light paper or even tissue paper. But this one, see, when I unwrapped it, it has all kinds of lift charge. It must have been sloppy when they made it. But see, the fuse popped out, which is common on these shells. You just push it all the way in there. I always keep some kind of masking tape handy. Then you just tape it over where your fuse popped out. Now you're good. We also have, these are some of the Hoosier Ball Buster shells I picked up the other day that we're going to be demoing this weekend. I've already unwrapped one of these, so I know they have a bunch of crap on them. But take that off. And these ones, there's a little piece of tape on there. You cut that tape. Said, gotta be careful not to undo your lift cup. See, I pulled the fuse out of that one too, so that's fine. All right, let's see. Pulled our fuse out, so we're taping it back in. Now you might notice, if you can see good in this video, two things. That my hands are all covered in deck stain, because I just stained my deck. And another thing that you're like, man, that ball shell is really odd shaped once you take the paper off of it. I'm going to show you, Pyros, something that some of you probably already know, maybe some of you don't. On these cheap, like $5 for 6, festival ball shells, crackle and black box, they almost all are made like this. Let me show you something. This ball, I'm just running my knife around this tape line. This ball, oh, this one better not make a liar out of me. There's nothing in there. The ball is just like a sabot. If you follow me, it's a sabot for your tube. The ball itself, it's just stuck on there to make it fit in the tube. The whole firework, lift charge, and your pyrotechnic composition is all in this little cylinder. And I don't know if you noticed lately at the fireworks stores, they sell a lot of little festival ball shells now that are these little cylinders. I know there's a brand called Ninja. I think Pyrosource has a ones that come like this, which it would be more efficient because they're just putting a bulb on there to make you think you're getting ball shells. But now this doesn't apply to the nicer, the prettier display type ball shells, like the more expensive ones. This is just the little cheapy ones. But I'll just tape that back together and that shell will be usable. I just wanted to show you that odd little thing. But anyways, let's go back to our main part of our video. Here's all the paper. Now I unwrapped, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Just 7 shells. I got this big old pile of junk. Now I know when these shells go off, some of this gets burned up in the sky, but a lot of it doesn't. And these little pieces like this, and this metallic paper, and these colorful shell wrappings, they end up all over the place. So if you can just spend a little time and take them apart, or not take them apart, but take the wrappers off. That's what I do. It cuts down on mess. The only thing you really end up with is these top pieces, which you can even take those off. I just don't because they say top on them. But if you wanted to, you can just write top on them. But the only thing you really end up with on these shells when they go off, there's a couple caps in here that you'll find around your yard. Then usually some of the cylinder, it'll be blown apart, but you'll find a piece of this. In ball shells, you might find a little bit of the cup here, but you usually don't find too much of those. But the paper, I find that all over the place. That's why I did this. Anyways, thanks again to all my new subscribers, and be looking forward to that Hoosier Ball Buster demo coming up this weekend. Thank you.